This is easily one of the most comfortable Yeezys in the world, if not one of the more comfortable sneakers we've ever worn. And Jay, a good buddy of mine who helps us around the shop, does some modeling for us, he put these on and he's like, these are the most comfortable shoes I've ever worn. And he's considering buying a pair despite him having zero interest in like hype footwear and Yeezys. He wants them solely for the comfort. But more importantly, he noticed as a guy who's super into paragliding that he's like, this feels just like my big sail, my big wing that I paraglide on it. This kind of has that same texture and look to it and feel. I can see the straps on the inside. And I was like, that's pretty interesting. I wonder if that was part of the inspiration for this sneaker. So we're gonna cut this thing in half, run it through our test to really figure out why this version of the Yeezy 700 is so stinking comfortable. But more importantly, was it partially inspired by parachutes and paragliding? Because it sure seems like it. And while I was looking up paragliding and trying to get some of the material information, I stumbled across part of the history of paragliding or parachuting. It's kind of crazy because in 1783, Frenchman Louis Sebastian Lenormand made a huge umbrella with light wood and a super light fabric and held on that thing and jumped off a building. And his goal was to invent something that would help you escape building fires. And since it was literally just an umbrella with lighter fabric on top, he had quite the rocky landing, but it definitely slowed his descent. And because of that semi-success, he coined the term parachute by combining the words para, meaning against, and shoot for fail, so against falling, parachute. Bet you didn't know that, because I sure didn't. And then later during the French Revolution, André Jacques Garnier was sitting in his prison cell, plotting and scheming a way to escape this prison that was in Hungary. And he came up with the concept of using air resistance to slow his descent with the concept of jumping off of the high ramparts of this Hungarian prison. And he never quite ended up making this great escape, but a few years later in 1797, after he was released from prison, he made his first proof of concept and he went big. Instead of an umbrella, this was a 23-foot canopy wing made of thin but really strong fabric, once again, attached basically to a basket. Then he used a hydrogen balloon and floated himself up 3,200 feet, released himself from the balloon and just hope for the best. And as he started plummeting towards the earth, because he didn't have any basically holes in the wing to control it or let air out, it just started swinging wildly. It just kept spiraling, it started swinging, and somehow a few hundred feet before he hit the ground, it stabilized just enough that when he hit the ground, it wasn't, once again, not the best landing. It was pretty rocky landing, but he didn't suffer any serious injuries. But he had proved that concept of using air to slow a descent by using a giant parachute. Then a few years later, 1799, his wife took the leap and survived to be the first lady to ever parachute. But unfortunately in 1823, his luck ran out because he was doing another balloon drop, but during the ascension, something happened with the balloons and a big accident happened and he plummeted to the earth and unfortunately died because of not having the parachute ready to catch him as he fell. All this push for thin and light but strong fabrics in the late 1700s and all through the next few centuries, especially during the 1900s with the major wars where they're needing hundreds of thousands of soldiers needed parachutes to drop into different countries. Well, it drove this innovation for this exact type of fabric, a super lightweight, durable, breathable fabric. And thanks to NordVPN for sponsoring today's video. You can become safer online with just a single click. You won't miss any of your favorite content when you're traveling or honestly when you're laying at home and you just change that VPN to a different country so you can have access to that country's content that's not available in the current country you're in. It's maybe the best reason to get NordVPN, but it still is vital, especially today's internet, to protect yourself from malware with their threat protection, which doesn't require a VPN connection to work. It just needs to be enabled on the app. And one account can protect up to 10 devices. So you don't have to have a bunch of different versions of it on different apps. You just have one account that can cover the vast majority of your stuff. And if you have no idea what a VPN is, the way I kind of visualize this is the internet is this giant pool of information and people gathering stuff and trying to hack into things. But a VPN, it makes an encrypted tunnel for all your traffic and everything you do online to flow through so that everyone around you on the internet can't get into that encrypted tunnel, whether they're trying to steal your private information, trying to hack you, trying to scam you, just trying to track you to sell you stuff, whatever it happens to be, that encrypted tunnel protects you, and that's what a VPN is. So whether you want to find some new content on your streaming services, protect yourself, monitor the dark web, all the other chaos that's happening on the internet year after year, check out NordVPN and use the code RoseAnvil to get exclusive, the NordVPN deal, plus 4 months extra, or by going to nordvpn.com/roseanvil, and it's risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee, so check it out below, and thanks again to NordVPN. So what is this shoe? Well, the brand is Yeezy. The style is the 700 minivans, basically the V4, because they just decided to switch up the naming. They weigh 14.3 ounces. They retailed for $220. They're made in China and there's no description because they're Yeezys. And if you want a pair of these, check them out via links in my description. So what is this material that we're talking about? Because parachutes can be made of any number of materials, especially historically, whether it's canvas, silk, Dacron, Kevlar, polyester, and most predominantly, especially talking to Jay, who actually does paragliding, nylon. Nylon seems to be the most popular fabric used for that type of thing. So what is this shoe? Well, this is a polyester. So why would they use a polyester instead of a nylon? Well, polyester is somewhat denser and heavier than cotton, and the fabric is popular for outdoor stuff and activewear because it's really moisture wicking, and it's quick drying, and it's really breathable. And polyester is dimensionally stable and durable, so you don't have a directional stretch or weirdness going on, similar to what happens with canvas. And the thread count on it is so crazy. You almost can't see the individual threads with the naked eye. So we did a little macro shot, and you can see how small this actually is. And all those attributes that you'd usually want for outdoor gear and paragliding and parachutes and stuff happens to make a really, really good upper because of all those reasons. Except for one thing, it's so flammable. We put a little flame on it, and this thing, it lights up and it starts smoking, and because it's polyester, it just turns into this liquid hot goo that if you touch it, it like burns into your skin. Because if they did actually catch on fire, I just remember like in elementary school, they talk about like fire safety and stuff. Like if you're wearing polyester shirts, it's gonna melt to your skin. You'll never be able to take that off ever again. That's still burned into my memory. So same concept with this. Don't catch them on fire. You might not ever take these shoes off. But because this fabric is so thin, you can see how little shape it actually holds. So what they've done to help maintain that shape and give it some rigidity is you can see through that almost translucent polyester, there's straps that are running all the way through this, which give it some structure, and they also double for the lace keepers. You can see that right here, the lace keepers are sewn to a little bit of a backer. These upper eyelets have a backer, and the reason they do that is because it's really strong over a large surface area, but in a singular point, it's not that strong. And so to prevent tearing from the eyelets or any of these other spots, they do an overlay rather than stitching, because if you stitch something on top, you're still creating little teeny holes that can slowly spread and rip the material, versus an overlay is fused to the polyester, which spread out that fell point over a larger surface area, which is key to making a shoe out of such a light and breathable material. But that wasn't even the main reason why everyone in the shop and Jay that wore these thought they were so comfortable, because a lot of it is from the foot down is where the real comfort comes from. Because this shoe, like most of the Yeezy 700s, has boost foam. And boost foam, if you don't know, it's this wonder foam that everyone's in love with because it combines the softness of a really low durometer foam with the structure and rigidity and rebound of a harder foam. And the reason they do that is because it's basically styrofoam, but a high quality styrofoam, where individual foam beads are fused together, so you get really soft, squishy foam on the inside, but that hard shell of the bead keeps that rigidity and allows it to rebound really well. But the problem with boost foam is even though it's structured, it still can be overly squishy, leading to instability and a lack of structure in the shoe. So what they've done with this is this black foam all around the outside is a lot more of a hard and stiff foam. It comes at a 50 to 40 Shore A. And so what they do is, assuming it's the exact same on the inside, is that really soft, squishy boost foam is encapsulated by a lot harder, more rigid foam. So you get the squish of the boost, but the stability of a harder foam. And it clearly works because we did the bar drop test and you can see how well it performed. Unfortunately, the V3 does not have boost foam, so we have a pretty close control to compare it to. The V3s without boost foam bounced up 4 inches versus the boost foam versions that bounced up an average of 6+ inches. So clearly more rebound by having that boost foam on the inside. But is it the same amount of boost foam, or is it just a little bit to show through the window here? Let's cut it in half and find out. All right, we got it cut in half, so let's see what's inside. So is there more or less foam in the minivans compared to the other two? Looks like the exact same amount of foam. It's basically the exact same midsole all the way through. It maybe is a little bit thicker on the harder black midsole foam in a couple of spots, especially compared to the V2s, but basically the exact same. So why do people think these are some of the most comfortable shoes of all time? Well, you get this breathable, strong, and tear-resistant upper that still moves, that's super lightweight, that's moisture wicking, that has all the properties of a parachute, with the reinforcement of the nylon straps and the fused overlays, and you get this really soft, squishy, Boost foam midsole that is pretty undeniably one of the most comfortable foams of all time. And you get that encapsulating harder foam that keeps it stable. And on top of that, you got the herringbone outsole that's really grippy. And so all that combined arguably makes the most comfortable Yeezy and one of the most comfortable sneakers of all time. And one of the more cool and innovative ones that just kind of flew under the radar when it comes to the actual material science. Because I've been doing a little research of this, not many people talked about the upper and what it does and the benefits of some of the features that you get from a really lightweight polyester. And that's what I love about digging really, really deep into this kind of stuff. Because now we know the history of parachutes and where the word parachute came from, all from dissecting a Yeezy 700 minivan. So let me know what you guys think. What shoes you think are more comfortable? Is there a more comfortable Yeezy? And thank you guys for everything you do and watching these videos and supporting them. So thank you guys. See ya. Sorry again. Fuck you. Just shot my computer.